Probably should have made this video before the other one, but what are you gonna do? I'm gonna ask you 4 questions, which all have the same answer. Why did they build the Eiffel Tower? Why did Judy Garland want you to meet her in St. Louis? What is going on at the start of Tomorrowland? Why is Epcot like that? You're watching this video, which means you read the title, so I'm hoping that you know that the answer is the World's Fair. The World's Fair, also called Exposition Universelle and nowadays just called Expo, has been happening on and off since the 1800s. There have been a lot of them. Officially, a World's Fair is a large international exhibition designed to showcase achievements of nations while also focusing on trade and displaying technological advances and inventions. Think of a country fair or a state fair. It's everyone from a particular area basically just getting together and showing off. It's usually cows and vegetables, agriculture. It's usually things like agriculture, but depending on where you are, you're also going to end up with things like arts and crafts, culture and food, and probably corporate sponsorship. So imagine that, but for the world-ish. The general idea was get a big bit of land, build something cool, then build a bunch more buildings and just fill them all with stuff. There's a lot going on, so I'm going to take a deeper dive into my personal favorite World's Fair, the 1964 to 1965 New York World's Fair, so you can get a bit of an idea. I also happen to have a handy dandy map. The fair was divided into 5 sections: industrial, international, federal and state, transportation, and amusements. Amusements are amusements. There were rides, a wax museum, and apparently a very popular waffle stand. The international section had pavilions from various countries showing off art, culture, food, basically whatever they wanted. If you've been to Epcot's World Showcase, you get it. If you haven't been to Epcot, sorry. Federal and state is kind of the same. Whichever states wanted to have a pavilion, they had one. Some even went to a lot of expense, like the Illinois Pavilion, which housed the most advanced audio animatronic of the day, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, built by Walt Disney. Transportation also pretty much makes sense. Companies like Ford, Chrysler, United Airlines. This was the place to show off the future of transport, which, if you're Ford, means the Magic Skyway, built by, you guessed it, Walt Disney. It's when we get to industrial that things get a little weird. When you're in the biggest section of the fair with over 50 individual pavilions, you gotta do something to stand out. So how do you sell 7-Up? International sandwich bar. Kodak film? Sculptures on the roof of a building. Photo opportunities. Seems very familiar nowadays. Pepsi Cola? Hundreds of dolls singing about world unity. I know that makes me thirsty. And something called the Festival of Gas, which I'm sure is less exciting than it sounds. There's also a bunch of pavilions in this section that just don't seem to go. The Mormon Pavilion, Boy Scouts of America, Oregon? I guess they just ran out of space elsewhere. My personal favorite is also in this section, which is Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress presented by General Electric. Hi, I like Disney, can you tell? I realize I've just kind of gone on a rant, which I don't think has actually helped. So, to recap, big area, lots of buildings, probably a weird one. Countries, states, corporations showing off, probably trying to sell you something. But among all that, I do think there's something amazing about the world, as it were, like coming together and just generally being excited about the future. That just doesn't happen nowadays. Eiffel Tower is pretty big. People know about that. But as far as pop culture goes, you don't actually have to look very far to find references to various World's Fairs, even if you don't realize that you're seeing them. I've already mentioned Meet Me in St. Louis and Tomorrowland, which both focus fairly heavily on their respective World's Fairs. But you might have missed and even Futurama, which was named for a pavilion at the 39 and 64 New York World's Fairs. Now, all of these do concentrate pretty hard on American fairs, but let's be real, the majority of our pop culture is American anyway. America did go in for World's Fairs in a pretty big way. US cities have hosted 14 out of the 70 World's Fairs, which is almost twice the amount of any other country. I think France has hosted 8. So maybe it's just more ingrained into the fabric of their history than it is for the rest of us. Hey, they even built a permanent one. I'm not going to go too far into this because it's kind of a whole video on its own. Stay tuned, subscribe. But the Epcot Park at Walt Disney World was kind of envisioned as almost like a permanent World's Fair. I mean, think about it. You walk in through Future World with pavilions originally sponsored by companies like Kodak, Exxon, and General Motors. I mean, even the fact that they're called pavilions comes from the World's Fair. As corporate sponsorship has dropped off in the last few decades, Epcot's seen a lot of its rides be reskinned, and a lot of buildings are sadly sitting pretty empty now. But a lot of new plans were unveiled at D23 in 2019, and honestly, I'm kind of excited for this new park, which I am calling Epcot. Epcot. IP-cot. So it's really funny when you know that IP stands for intellectual property, and they're basically just like reskinning all of the Epcot stuff with Disney intellectual property. And it's not funny if I have to explain it, is it? Guess what? World's Fairs are still happening. They're now just called Expo and then the year that they take place. So the last one was Expo 2017 in Kazakhstan. The next one was meant to be Expo 2020 in the UAE, but that's been put on hold. COVID. Honestly, I have no idea why you don't hear anything about them anymore. I guess if they're not happening in your country or even like directly in your city, it'd be pretty easy to just not even realize they exist. It's kind of sad, but I guess in the age of the internet, who really needs to spend money and go to a fair to learn about other countries and like to specifically learn about what other countries want you to know about themselves? Plus, we're bombarded every day with every company being like, this is my new thing. It's like, I don't want to pay money to go and have that happen. I just watch TV. Honestly, I just don't think we're as excited about the future as we used to be. What a lovely upbeat way to end a video. So yeah, the World's Fair, Exposition Universelle. I'm so sorry about my French. A rose-colored period of the not too distant past where we're all actually excited about the future, vaguely interested in international communication, and all about that corporate sponsorship. If you're interested, I've left some links below for some further reading, including my own blog. I have at least 2 more videos coming about the World's Fair. So this is the awkward part at the end of this video where I ask you to subscribe. Awkwardly. Thank you. Bye.